Well, hello. Welcome to History with Miss Esther. I'm so glad to be with you again. You know, the Israeli Hamas and Gaza conflict, it brings up a lot of passion, some anger, some feelings of absolute betrayal, and everything is there's all kinds of emotions that are going on during this time. And it's a very difficult time in the Middle East with the war that's going on now. That started after the actions of October 7th. What I want to do is to bring some historical facts into uh, this whole conflict. And I'm just a regular person, just in front of uh, a screen talking to you about it. But I'm seeing so much misinformation online that I just feel like it would be a good thing to bring some facts into play. Now, here's the thing. Last time when I was online, I brought up several questions that I would answer when I came back online. Sometimes it takes me a while to get here because I have to work a lot. And if you want to see more of history from me, then like, subscribe, and share. And maybe if I can get enough people to subscribe, maybe I can do this more often. But my thing about history, I want to bring in facts, facts that no one can dispute. And so let's talk about these questions that I have. I'm going to give you all the questions and then I'm going to answer them. And I think that it will at least help point you in the right direction of where to go with this whole thing. Because there's so many people, they don't know what to believe, or they believe information that is not correct and it doesn't align with history. But history will give you a lot of good information and you'll know where to go from there. So even though I'm on social media and I'm saying this, I want you to question me and I want you to do your research. Okay, so do your research. All right. Are the Palestinians, this is my first question, are the Palestinians today the same as the ancient Palestinians? And question two, was the area always called Palestine? Question three, were there always Jews in the land of Israel, Palestine area? Question four, was there a thriving Palestinian nation before the Jews returned in great numbers in the 18 and 1900s? Question five, was there ever a fair partition of the land? And then the last question is simply, do you know the difference between an act of war and a war crime? So first question is, um, are the Palestinians today the same as the ancient Palestinians called the Philistines of ancient BC times? And the answer is no, they're not. The ancient Palestinians were Greek, they were Hellenistic people. Anytime you hear Hellenization, anything like that, it's talking about Greek people or Greece. And DNA and archaeological evidence have proven that the ancient Philistines were Greek, not Arab. Historians have said for decades that the modern day Palestinians are Arab. And so now these young Palestinians are getting their DNA tested and they're finding out that they are part of their DNA is Arab. It's Syrian and uh, Egyptian, Jordanian, the various Arab uh, countries that surround them. So no, they are not the ancient Palestinians. They are not Greek, and there's no distinct Palestinian DNA. Um, this is what historians have been saying for a long time. So science has a way of bringing a lot of information into play, and of course, archaeology and history. All right. Question number two, was the area always called Palestine? It wasn't. We know as far back as, even if we just go to the time of Jesus, Yeshua, we're looking at over 2,000 years ago. It was Judah, Judea, the land of Judea, and as Israel too. And you go back 1,000 years during the time of King David, it's the kingdom of Israel. And Joshua the Conqueror is even um, way further back than David. So I mean, it's been the land of Israel for a long time. But what happened was uh, even during the time of Yeshua, Jesus, the Romans were true occupiers of the land, and so the Jews had a very difficult time under the Romans. By approximately 132, 135 AD, it just really came to a boiling point. I mean, they had already had conflicts with the Romans, but this particular revolt, the Bar Kokhba revolt, was very, very intense, and many thousands of Jews died in that revolt. So they were under the Emperor Hadrian at the time, and Rome was just so upset with the Jews that what they did was um, they gave them the name of their ancient enemy, the Philistines, and of course they Latinized it. The Rome, they spoke Latin, and so anytime you're dealing with languages, the same word may come out different in different languages. So Philistines became Palestinians, and we say it's well, actually, when they said it, it was, I think, Palestina or Palestinia, something like that. Sorry that I don't know that exactly, but it was like Syria, Palestina, and we say, of course, Palestine in English. So that's how it got changed like that. All right. So no, it was not always called Palestine. All right. So let's go to the third question. Were there always Jews in the land of Israel, Palestine area? And the answer to that is yes, there always have been. Um, through all the difficulties in the Middle East, there were always Jews in that area. So when you look at the people who have really been there the longest, you're looking at the Jewish people. They've been there for thousands of years, and so even as far back as we talked about BC times, time of Yeshua, a couple thousand years ago, during 1100, between 1100 and 1300, you have the times of the Crusaders, the Crusades, which were just awful to the Jews that lived there, and they actually, in the name of Christianity, killed a lot of Jews, thousands. And so, of course, that's not the Christianity that I embrace. That was wrong. It was an evil time. And but they were there then. And so you even have the old Yeshuvim, that it's very easy to look all of this up. It's just right there. And so um, when you had this massive amount of people that came back in the 1800s and the early 1900s um, from the diaspora, the old Yeshuv was there, the Yeshuvim. It's a pluralistic form of the word, and they had been there all through the Ottoman Empire time. So even the Quran in Surah 5, if you read Surah 5, verses 19 through 21, even Muhammad uh, says that the land belongs to Israel. So, I mean, there's so many things that indicate how long they've been there, um, and why that land belongs to them. And it's such a tiny bit of land. Uh, they've given up a lot of land. So anyhow, let's go on to the next question, because it's so easy to get into so much of the history there. Number 4. So we're over halfway now. We're over halfway there, and we're under 10 minutes, and hopefully this won't go much further than 20 minutes. Okay. Was there a thriving Palestinian nation before the Jews returned in great numbers in the 18 and 1900s? And the answer to that is very easy to find. There was not. The Jews, not just the Jews, but throughout that area of the Middle East, it was under the Ottoman Empire during that time. It's the Ottomans. Ottomans are not Arabs. They are Turks. They are Muslim, but they're Turks. So when you look at the land of Turkey, Turkey used to have a great empire all throughout, like the Mediterranean area and things, and it was called the Ottoman Empire. And listen to this: the Ottoman Empire was there all the way until the end of World War One, and so we're talking November 11th, 1918. And then after the Ottoman Empire, there still wasn't this thriving Palestinian state. The British took over after that. The Ottomans didn't do much with that land of the Holy Lands, as it's called, with Israel, Palestine. It was so desolate that when the great writer Mark Twain, excuse me, went there during his time, he talked about how there was hardly anything there. It was just desolate. It's just interesting what he wrote, and it's easy to look that up also. So you don't have this great nation that was there, like some of you have been told. It wasn't there. As a matter of fact, after the diaspora started coming back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that's actually when the land started to prosper, when you see the growth of food and industry and business and things like that, was actually after the Jews started returning in great numbers, all right? And so let's see, let's make sure that we're saying everything. I've got my notes here. All right, question 5, there's only 2 more questions, everyone. Was there ever a fair partition of the land? Okay, so like I said, after the Ottomans were gone in 1918, the British took over, but during that time, the League of Nations and the British had a mandate for Palestine in about 1922. And this mandate was for there to be a Jewish state in Palestine, which would be Israel. And so this happened in 1922, and it did not settle well with a lot of their Arab neighbors, but they took the little bit of land that was given them and they started, making a country out of it. And by 1948, Israel became a nation. And so when they became a nation, several of the Arab nations around them did declare war on them and attack them, but they survived. They won, they survived, and they have survived many attacks since then. Something interesting that you should also look up is how many times was Israel the aggressor in any of those conflicts. Just look that up. No one is denying it. That is just some historical facts, okay? So I encourage you to just look up all of this, and you will see that what I'm saying is true and help you put some perspective in what's going on. So anyhow, let me make sure we covered all of that. Let me look at my notes real quick again. I think we said enough about that. I mean, there's much that can be said about all of this. But the last question is simply this: do you know the difference between a war crime and an act of war? Okay, on December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked our Navy on Pearl Harbor in the Hawaii area and killed thousands of our soldiers. That was an act of war, though. It was a terrible act of war. It was a surprise. Many were killed, but they attacked an army that, excuse me, once they knew they were under attack, got up and ran and started fighting back. They had the equipment to fight back, and even though a lot of the equipment, of course, was destroyed, but they started fighting because they were an army. And so that act of war was the start of a war between Japan and the United States. So a war crime is different. A war crime is when an army or whatever they want to call themselves goes into another nation and attacks the innocent civilians who cannot fight back, who do not have weapons. It is a very cowardice act, by the way, too. And so that's a war crime. You go and you torture and you rape and you maim innocent people, kidnap them. Those are war crimes. And that doesn't fly with anything. As bad as Hitler was during World War II, the Allied army did not go into Germany and just start killing all the innocent civilians. Then it would have been a war crime. But yes, they did attack and kill the Nazi army. That's for sure. Okay? That is an act of war. So when we talk about Israel, Hamas, and uh, the whole Gaza situation, and we talk about October 7th of 2023, we are not talking about an act of war. We are definitely talking about a war crime. What bothers me, and I will say this is a personal opinion for a moment when I say what bothers me, is that there are so many intelligent people, people who with college degrees that get online and they will not admit that this was an act of war. I'm sorry, a war crime. They will not admit that raping women and chopping off the heads of children and killing family members in front of them, killing parents in front of children, baking babies alive in the oven and killing them in such a suffering way, they will not admit that that's a war crime by people who videotape the whole thing. I even saw someone online get up and say, actually, Israel did the whole thing. I'm like, Hamas is not ashamed of what they did. They videotaped it and they confess it. And yet there are people with tens of thousands and millions maybe of followers that get up and say something like that that is obviously not true, that even Hamas would not even want them to say. So that is why I came and I presented all of these questions and answered them, because these facts are facts that you can easily find. Um, Google Scholar is very good to look up some of these things. They will give you the names of books on this subject before everything became so polarized and political from years ago. You can find some of these facts. If you don't have time for that, I have found some good information on encyclopedia.com, Britannica.com, history.com. They don't get political. They just present some historical facts too. And I shouldn't say they don't get political, but so far, from what I have read, I've found some good historical facts and in those. So those are good places that you can start looking and doing some research on all of this. I would love to hear from you. If you want to make comments, ask questions, that's fine with me. All I ask is that you be respectful. I don't need people to get on and start just throwing out accusations and saying you're just being biased and all these kind of things. So I need you to, if you want to engage with me, just be courteous, and I want you to present your facts and your evidence if need be, okay? Hey, because I want the truth out there. If there's something that I'm missing, that's fine. Hey, I'm just a simple person. I do have a master's degree in history of education and everything. I've taught at various schools, and I'm a teacher right now in a PATH class. And so I teach a little history there and a little English and everything else. Uh, but I'm just a regular person. Look at me. I'm just in front of a screen talking to you. I don't have any professional equipment. I wish I did. With time, maybe I can, but I'm presenting some facts to you, and I hope you'll do some research and check it out. This is Miss Esther with some history. I'm so glad you tuned in. God bless you all, and I love you all. All right? Take care, and I truly, truly hope that this war ends soon. I do want to say this, excuse me there, forgive all the little sounds and things like that. With my next one, whenever it is, I'm not going to make a time. I do want to deal with the accusation of apartheid and genocide. Okay? And I will present some facts with that too. All right. Hey, it is 20 minutes. So it's over 20 minutes. So it's time to go. You guys have a good one. Take care.